Guys, it's Miss Enos back with Dreamweaver again. So we, in the previous video, did a site definition. Today, we're going to look at how to start the basic structure in HTML. And then we are going to look at how to link a CSS external style sheet. So if everybody will launch up Dreamweaver. So I have Dreamweaver here. And I have already defined my site, and you can see my project folders are here in my files panel. The very first thing that I need to do is go ahead and create a brand new HTML document. And my very first HTML document is going to be my home page on my website, which I will name index.html. So if everybody can go up to File and New, and I want a HTML document, I'm going to title this Home, okay? And I am going to hit Create. So you'll notice that even though I titled it, it's still untitled. The title shows up here in my code. So right here, I am in code. You can see that I have two different views open. I am in the split view and standard split view. I have code view, which will just show me my HTML document in pure code. The split where I can see and design it visually as well as HTML. And then here I have live and design view. So just so you know, live view will show you a preview of what it would look like in a browser. And design view is going to show you what it looks like as you're coding or creating your website. Also, to check for browser compatibility, you can go down here and hit real-time preview. And we will be doing that often. And I like to design in design view and check my real-time preview. So as we start to design our website, it is important for you to understand that we are using HTML5, which is the newest version of HTML. It replaced HTML4 and XHTML. And the good reason to use the newest version of HTML or HTML5 is because it offers cross-platform compatibility, which means that it'll be the same in whether you're using Safari, Chrome. It'll be the same whether you're using an iPad, a phone, or a desktop. So whatever browser you're using, it will be the same. Whatever device you're using, it will be consistent. So it's important to make sure that you are using HTML5 and that you title all of your files appropriately and save them appropriately. So I've created my first HTML page, but now I have to save it. So I'm going to go to File and I'm going to save as. Every first page of every website is called index.html, and you'll notice that it automatically saves in my portfolio folder, and I can just go ahead and hit save, and you're going to see my first index page set up right in my project panel. I can go ahead in here and I want to show you, just type in hello world, just so you can see. And then if I go down here, I can preview that in my browser. It's going to make sure I save my index.html page and hit yes. And then I can go down here and there's my website. And as tiny as it is, it says hello world. So as we start to code our websites, it's important for us to know that HTML is the backbone of a website, the structure. So the background color for our website, the container, our header, our navigation, our content, and our footer all reside in the HTML. However, HTML is not pretty. We use CSS or cascading style sheets to make the website pretty or style the website. So here today, I want to show you how to start laying out your website in HTML and then add in your CSS. So today I'm going to just delete that hello world and if you look up here, I have, or down here, sorry, in the code view, I have HTML header. You'll see my title is home, my header's closed, and then I have my body tag. My body tag is where all of my website is going to reside. So the very first thing I want to create is a div tag. Way back when HTML first started or people started coding websites, the websites were designed with tables. Tables are all total HTML, and we don't use tables any longer. We use div tags or division tags, and it's super easy to use a div tag. All you have to do is go up, insert, and then hit div. So that div tag, you want to make a class and an ID. So my first div tag is going to be container. I'm just going to type in container, and then in the ID, container. I want to make sure that I'm spelling it exactly the same way. If I have capital C's, make sure, whatever you do, you're making it consistent. So now I have my very first div tag, and it is a container. And inside this container, I am going to have a header, a navigation, 2 content divs, and a footer. So I need to go right before the tag closes and put 2 returns. That's going to give me a blank line. Then I can go up and keep inserting my div tags. So insert my div. The next div I'm going to do is header. And header. Okay. And then right after my div tag closes, I'm going to insert another div tag. And then this one is going to be nav or navigation. You can type it out if you feel you need to. And then another return, and I'm just going in and inserting 2 contents. So content 1, content 1, another div tag for content 2 under insert div. I'm going to call that content 2, content 2. And then last but not least, the final div tag is going to be my footer. Insert div and then footer. So here I have, as you see, created just the structure for my website. As you can see at the top up here in my design view, I have the container, I have the header, I have the navigation, I have the content 1, content 2, and footer. So what I want to do now is, if you look to the right where your files panel is, you're going to see CC Libraries, Insert Panel, and CSS Designer. What I have to do right now is create a CSS sheet. A CSS sheet is going to style my whole website. So I want to create this external style sheet. It's going to hold all the styles for my entire site. This makes it easier when you have to edit your site. You only have to change one style sheet versus all the pages on your website. So here in my CSS Designer, where it says Sources, I want to hit the plus sign. That is going to allow me to either create a new CSS style, attach a style, or do an inline style. An inline style is the CSS resides just in that one page. The benefit to attaching a CSS style sheet to your website is one style sheet styles your whole site. So I want to go ahead and create a brand new CSS sheet. So I'm going to hit Create New, and I am going to make sure I'm linking it, and I am going to browse, and I'm going to save this style sheet as styles. And then I'm going to hit Save, and then OK. Couple things happened, and if you didn't notice, I'm going to point them out. First things first, if you look to the left, you'll see source code and then styles. Once you look down here, I'm on my styles. I have nothing because I haven't added anything to that style sheet. But if I hit my source code, I see all my HTML that I was building. The other thing is if I hit my files panel, you see my CSS style sheet in my Files panel. So I'm going to make sure I'm sticking on my source code, and I'm going to go back to my CSS designer. The next thing we have to do is turn all this HTML into CSS. And we could manually type it in on my style sheet, but I like to do it the easier way and use selectors. So all I'm going to do is click on my container right here and add in the selector. And you'll see that it types it in for me. Then I'm going to click on my header and go ahead and add in the header. So you'll see it says container and then container header. Then I'm going to click on my navigation, go in and add my navigation, click on my content 1, go in and add my content 1 in there, click on my content 2, hit the plus sign and adds my content 2, and then click on the footer and then add in the footer. Now watch what happens when I go up near my source code and I click on my CSS style sheet. You see that everything that I did in my HTML is now attached to my CSS styles. Pretty cool, huh? And I don't have to type all that in manually. So when I go back to my source code here, it looks pretty plain right now. And that's because I have no styles attached to it. So here, at the top here, I want to click on my container. In my container, I want to go ahead and center this container. So all I have to do is click on container and then come down here to properties. Just make sure that you can see all your properties by hitting show set. So you have to toggle this little toggle off and on. And if you hit it off, you'll see all of the properties. You have to make sure you're clicked on your selector, and then you can start to style your pieces or your parts of your website. So I'm starting with my container, and this container, I want it to be centered on the website. So to center something, I have to make my margins all auto. So click on your PX for pixels and turn that to auto. And you want to do that top, bottom, left, and right. I'm clicking on PX, holding the mouse button down, and changing that PX to auto. I also want to go ahead and change my container color. So here, I'm just going to scroll down until I see background color. I see text color. I'm just looking for background color, border color, borders. There it is, background color. Here, I want to make my background white. Okay, so there's my background. I'm making it, or maybe I'll make it a red just so you can see what it's going to do. So there is, as I'm making these changes to each of my selectors, it's styling my website. And if I click on my CSS, you can see everything that I chose. I made my top, my right, my bottom, and my left margins auto, and I changed my container color to red. Say I don't like this red. I can change it multiple different ways. I can click on here and get a new color by typing in a code. I can go back over here in my CSS properties here and go ahead and change those colors. So either way, however you feel comfortable coding, with coding visually with your CSS panel or your CSS designer panel, or if you feel confident in typing in the codes, it's up to you. I'm going to go with white back on that. Okay, now I want to see, I'm going to add some stuff to my header here. So if I click up in header, I'm just going to type in Mrs. Enos's portfolio. And you'll see here that I have pretty plain type. So I want to go ahead and start to style that header. So I'm going to click on header. And down here, my properties, I can click on the text and I can choose it, I can make it a color. So I think I'm going to go with a purpley color, okay? Just so you can see what I'm doing. You can see that. My font family, there's not a lot of fonts to choose from here, but you can hit Manage Fonts right here. Go to Custom Fonts, and these are all the fonts on your computer, and you can bring them in to Dreamweaver. Let's say I want birds of a feather. So I'm going to click it and I'm going to put it onto that side, that arrow right here, which makes it show up in the list, and I'm going to hit done. Once I go back to my properties panel, I can hit birds of a feather. And there it is. Wow. It's all birds. Interesting. But you can see how I can add fonts or change my fonts. So I'm just going to go with something very simple. I don't want all birds on my portfolio website. So there it is. Now I want to center my Mrs. Enos portfolio, and I also want to make my size much bigger. So I'm going to go extra, extra large type. There it is. So as it's starting to look really cute, I can look at my styles and you can see that everything I'm choosing in my CSS designer is going onto my CSS styles page. And I can scroll or switch back between my CSS styles and my source code. Now let's say I wanted a background color or a background image in behind my container. If I go up to my window here, I have the properties panel. You can hit the properties panel and it's going to open up here. And if I hit CSS, not HTML, but CSS, I can go into the bottom here and hit page properties. And I can change the background to a color. So let's say I wanted it to be black. There's my background color, and I'm going to apply it and hit OK. So there you have it. My background is black, my container is white. I don't need this content for class container, goes here. There it is, Miss Enos's portfolio. I have my parts to my website, and I'm starting to put them all together. So my footer, all I have to do for my footer, let's say I just wanted something simple. I could have Mrs. Enos 250 Foundry Street, Southeastern Mass 02375, and maybe my email. That's JENOS. Okay, so that's my footer information. My navigation up here is going to be home, freshman. Well, let's just do home, portfolio, contact me. So I'm going to have 3 buttons: home, portfolio, contact me, and then one content for an image and the other content for text. Okay, so home, portfolio, contact me, my footer, and then these 2 boxes will be my content. So I'm going to go and start with my footer. So here in my CSS designer, I can click on footer. I can go to the text. I can choose the color I want for my text. I can even get the color picker to match the color if I wanted to. Okay, get that color, match it to that purple that I chose. Hit OK. I can get my font family. There it is. And then I want it centered. There we go. I can change the size if I want to. I'm keeping it pretty simple. So again, I'm going to click on my navigation. So here I have Home, Portfolio, Contact Me. I want that centered. I want the same color that I've been using. Get my color picker. Make sure I'm getting the right color. Okay. My font family, change the font so it matches. I can do a bold on that if I want to. And then I want it bold. Oh, it's oblique. That's fine. I'll use oblique. And then I want it a little bit bigger, so I can go down to my size and just do large. Makes it a little bigger. And then I want a little more space in here. So if I hit the space bar, it won't let me move it. But if I hit Alt, Shift, and space bar, I can add more than one space. So that's Alt, Shift, and space bar. So there are my links or my navigation, and I have content 1 and content 2 here, and then my footer. Okay, so let's get some content 1 and content 2 in. Let me show you how to go ahead and put an image in. So as we know, I have no images in my files panels here. All I have is my index, my styles. I have nothing in my images folder. So I can go ahead and grab an image and save it into that folder, or I can open Photoshop and save it from there. For now, what I'm just going to go ahead and do is just get an image and put it into my images folder. So I'm going to minimize Dreamweaver. I am going to go in and make sure that I have a picture in my portfolio folder. So here I'm just going to grab a picture that I have already saved. And just get these screenshots that I already have. And I'm going to copy them. And then, because I already had those, I'm going to open my portfolio folder, open my images folder, and paste those images in. Okay, so I've got a couple images, and then I also saved a Facebook thing that I'm going to show you how to insert. So back in Dreamweaver, now that I have my images, where it says Content 1, I'm going to highlight that and delete the words. Then I'm going to go up under Insert an Image, or you can go to your Insert panel on the right here, and Image, same thing. And I just want to get one picture and go ahead and open that. And then there is my image. Okay. My second image, I'm going to go in here. I could always add type here if I wanted to. So I could talk about, this is my sophomores, so I can do hello sophomores or hello students. Welcome to my website. I hope you find Okay, so there is, I wrote a little note to my students. I have an image I want in there, and then in my footer here, I want to just go ahead and instead of having my email in there, I want to take my email out and go ahead and add in the images for my social media links. So there I have Mrs. Enos, my address, and all the images for my social media links. So let's take a peek at what this looks like in the browser so far. In order to see it in the browser, I go down here to my real-time preview, or I can go up to File, Real-Time Preview here, and I like to use Safari, but if you want to use Chrome, you can. It's going to ask me to save, so I am. And now, as you can see, I'm starting to code my website. This is what it currently looks like. And as you can see, I've got it in there. I've got a lot of work to still do, but it definitely is coming along. So back in Dreamweaver, I want to make sure that I can change the font of my Hello Students and kind of line this up so it looks a little bit better. So going back to my CSS designer, content 2 is where I have my text. So I'm going to go ahead and color that text the right color. Again, just want to make sure I'm getting the right color with my color picker. Going in and getting that purple color, right? And I'm getting the right font family. Want to keep everything consistent so everybody knows they're working on the same website or they're on the same website. And then here they are. I have content 1, I have content 2, and I have Enos portfolio and a letter to my students. So, and let's say that I wanted to center content 1. Just going to click on content 1, click on the layout tab, go down and make my margins auto. That should center that box for me. And then I can check that in my browser. See what those changes look like. So now you can see that I have my Hello Students is that nice purple color. It's all the same font. And I have my advertising and design image here. And I have my Facebook, my Twitter, my Instagram, and my email. Nothing is clickable yet. That's our next lesson. But this is the lesson on how to start building your HTML and your CSS in Adobe Dreamweaver. So now that I've got all this stuff in, I'm going to take a peek at my CSS and you can kind of see how all the stuff is building and I'm not having to type it in. This is coming from every time I click on one of my selectors. So you can see my container, my header, my navigation, my content 1 and 2, and then my footer. So as you go through, keep making those selections, keep building your source code and your CSS, and always shoot me an email or raise your hand if you have any questions.